Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Tech Talks Daily podcast. I'm your host, Neil C. Hughes, and today we're going to be diving deep into the fast evolving landscape of retail technology. And my guest today is no stranger to innovation. He's been at the forefront of transformative tech experiences for years. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, I'm bringing back a visionary entrepreneur who we've not spoken to in 3 years. His name is Arsen Avakian, and he is the founder and CEO of Cooler Screens. Now, if you remember in our last conversation, he is a serial entrepreneur who initially revolutionized the tea industry with Argo Tea, but is now transforming how we experience in-store shopping. He's been turning heads in the industry, partnering with huge giants from PepsiCo to Kraft Heinz, and gathering insights from over 90 million shoppers every month. But today I want to learn more about why Cooler Screens is not just a cool idea, how it's making waves, shifting paradigms, and setting new benchmarks for retail media. So in today's conversation, we'll explore how Arsen's cutting-edge technology is closing that information gap in physical stores, enhancing the consumer experience, but without compromising on privacy. And hopefully, if we've got time, we'll also discuss the future of retail media and dive into the role of sustainability in tech. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to the US, where he's waiting to join us once again here on Tech Talks Daily. So a massive warm welcome back to the show. We last spoke nearly 3 years ago. So can you just remind everyone listening with a little about who you are and what you do?
Hi, Neil. Listen, I'm Arsen Avakian, founder, CEO of Cooler Screens. Thanks for having me back on the show.
It's a pleasure to have you back on. And so much has happened since we last spoke. The world is a very different place now, which we were just talking about before we started recording today. So I've got to ask, how's life been for you? How has your business evolved? Any new opportunities opened up?
Boy, it's been quite some time. You're right, Neil. So yeah, look, the world has changed, right? I mean, a lot of good things, a lot of macro things that trouble us all in the world. So hopefully things settle down. But business-wise, look, Neil, I think that when you and I just spoke 3 years ago or 4 years ago, who knows, it felt like in-store retail media and all of that was just so emerging, and it was hard to believe it's going to be here, right? So I would say maybe the biggest thing we feel in our business is we don't have to be explaining people what is retail media. It appears to be part of everyday life these days. What do you hear from your other people you speak to?
Exactly the same. You know, there's some people that businesses have just gone from bust to boom, and others have gone the other way. Lots of pivoting along the way. I think Gen AI blindsided a lot of business leaders this year. And I think more than anything, I'd say the common theme is everything that people were working on just seems to have speeded up exponentially. And things that we thought might take 3, 5, 10 years to actually enter the mainstream has almost happened overnight since those lockdown periods and the pandemic started to fade out. It's like it just speeded everything up is what people seem to be thinking.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I guess you remind me when you and I spoke, it was the middle of the COVID. So the perception of people was very different about what is possible and and I guess like we all came out of the world all of a sudden with the fury and the energy, right? To go back to getting the business reboot, reset, getting back to shopping and all those things.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I think it's a great moment to introduce everyone listening to Cooler Screens. Maybe they missed our previous interview, hearing about you for the first time. Can you just tell me a little bit more about Cooler Screens just to set the scene for our conversation today and how you're enhancing that consumer experience in brick and mortar stores with your technology?
I think, as I shared with you last time, Cooler Screens took a thesis that most of the shopping in retail is going to continue to prevail in a physical world, right? Which when we spoke during the COVID, it just didn't seem to be the case, right? But as the world has come back into physical stores and many retailers recognize that their energy directed towards creating their e-commerce online businesses as well as the accompanying retail media in those stores appears to be addressing only 5-10% of the slice, right? 90% of the business still being in physical stores. The retailers have started to embrace the idea that they can bring the technology into their physical stores and outfit their stores with the kind of capabilities that allow them to treat the store as if it's a website, and give at the same time the vendors or the product companies selling in those stores the ability to connect with the shoppers, with the consumers, using the same modern digital technology stack that they're used to doing online. So Cooler Screens create that technology, which I guess turns the stores into smart stores, digitizes them, and creates an opportunity for vendors or marketing product companies to make their marketing investments at the point of decision in the physical stores, connecting with them with whatever those marketing campaigns and relevant messages are.
And I'm curious, if we look under the hood here, what kind of data analytics capabilities do you offer at Cooler Screens to provide those retailers? And also, what kind of metrics drive smarter inventory and advertising decisions? Because I get the impression that's what brings it all to life, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, we take a holistic view to a store, right? And we say, if we want to turn the store into a smart store, first of all, we need to create, if you will, a proxy of all of the same web signals that online stores are capable of, right? So first step in our technology is to determine, working backwards from the human outcomes that we want to achieve, whether it's the convenience, the delight, entertainment, or increased basket, rewarding for people's actions, and so on. We work backwards, understanding what are those digital activation points in a store aligned to the customer purchase path that actually makes sense. Once we determine those, we leverage the recent development and the latest of the IoT and the AI technologies embedded in the physical environment. So that fundamentally the two use cases we solve for in the store, we bring the Vision AI to determine the shopper behavior, very similar to how your browser would know where you are, where you click on, how long you're spending on a particular page, right? That shopper behavior on their proximity actions, their motions, their attention signals are giving us an ability to extrapolate a lot of what we call internally an intent coefficient, right? We can learn about the intent of the consumers by understanding their behaviors and correlating their actions to the product and the store data signals that we go collect and we gather from the retailers themselves. So the core of the technology is an AI engine, which is an overused word. We recognize that, but it's a software that is able to understand the potential, well, like I said, extrapolated predicted intent of a shopper against the content that's being displayed to them. And so the data that we both collect as well as we output, it's all about, number one, creating the prediction about that causal mechanism between what content is trying to create, what action and what conversion we're trying to create from a content, as well as creating the unique insights and analytics for the stores and for the brand owners, understanding how people react to their marketing campaigns, understanding the white space opportunity where the products or their brands or their SKUs are potentially underperforming, and there is the opportunity to create that growth if we connect with the customers with the content in it.
And for any business leaders or retailers listening, beyond providing just new advertising revenue or different avenue for that, what other tangible benefits do retailers gain from implementing your technology and Cooler Screens?
Well, the foundation of Cooler Screens, if you recall, Neil, is always being driven by, if we believe that the physical stores are going to stay, they need to come to the modern age of technology. But the question becomes, what is the benefit to consumers? No one wants more advertising in their stores. No one wants more billboards in front of them, right? So the approach we have taken from the beginning was, as I mentioned a second ago, about understanding what human outcomes we want, and first and foremost, being able to map those human outcomes, which could be its convenience, the ease, the transparency of the shopping. It's most importantly closing that information gap that exists in a physical store compared to an online environment. Simply said, when you think about a physical store today, we're talking about a product display, basically metal shelves and the product packages sitting on those shelves, right? And maybe a paper plastic sign that telling us the price, and maybe a paper signage that's screaming one way to us about however what the product is, right? So in-store marketing is nothing new to people. What's been missing, in our view, is one is the interactivity, the assistive capability that allows the shoppers to learn information about the products that they're choosing in stores. That helps them with that shopping decision. It could be about the diet, the budget. It could be about their health preferences and so on. Yes, imagine how easy it is online for you to learn the difference between Advil and Tylenol, or to know how many calories are in a particular product, or search and find your gluten-free products because those are your dietary preferences. When you walk into a physical store, none of that information is easily available. And that's what we refer to as the information gap that consumers have in a physical store. Well, how do you close that information gap? Some companies have taken an approach that, well, people have a phone in their hands and they will be shopping, leveraging also the essentially assistive device in their hands of a phone. And in some cases it works, in some cases it's a clunky experience. Some others have taken futuristic views, such as that will have goggles like Facebook Meta Vision with their smart glasses, and will start overlaying digital information over physical world, right? There are smart shopping carts applications, putting the smart screens on your shopping carts. We have taken an approach where first, cooler screens from a software perspective being completely agnostic to how you apply the hardware and what kind of hardware you apply. But we have taken an approach that no matter what the approach is, if seamlessly embedded digital surfaces and intelligence for those a kind of GPU sets and the CPUs from NVIDIA, in our case, are able to integrate into that shopper experience, we will be able to start providing a consumer an information about what makes their shopping a lot more convenient, a lot more empowered with that transparency. And as a result, we need to earn the trust of the shoppers. And as we earn the trust of the shoppers, serving them contextually relevant ads, which is how the business model works, will be received well, and it will be welcomed by the shoppers because it will save them the money. It will help them find the information that perhaps they were looking for and they couldn't find easily, and so forth. So we've been at this for 6 years. We probably have learned more than anybody. We have tried many different things, right? And we find increasingly that in our case, as many retailers we work with, as well as the third parties that are constantly surveying and stress testing what I just shared with you, that over 90% of consumers, they find that digitally enhanced experience in a physical world is what they prefer versus to traditional experience. There is always a minority of consumers that will, they'll complain about iPhones. They'll still want to have a horse carriage versus a car, right? They just don't want technology. There's nothing we can do about that. But I would say the overwhelming majority of consumers are continuously now and sustainably for over 6 years voting that they want digitally enhanced experience in a physical world, in particular in a physical store, in the shopping environment. They also find if there was one place where the advertising about the product actually makes a lot more sense and is not obtrusive to their daily life, is in a physical store, because that's what they came for. That they are the shop. The question becomes, it's not about if advertising, it's about making sure that advertising is relevant, it's within the context of what they're there for, and it makes their overall experience much more useful and hopefully more entertaining as well. And that's what we focused our energy on. Use the CX, consumer experience, as a way to earn the trust of a consumer and serve them the kind of marketing promotions that actually serve real need.
And you were talking about consumer trust there. And of course, as soon as we start talking about smart shopping carts, data analytics, marketing, AI and technology, sooner or later, we're going to arrive at the privacy topic. So I'm curious, how do you at Cooler Screens approach consumer privacy when working with this technology?
Well, that's a brilliant question, Neil, because again, right, day one when I started the company, it was a changing world. It's continuously changing. The privacy has been not just like a beacon of what we looked at, but we said, let's understand on a technology architecture level before we talk about the business side of the equation. What do we really need to be able to derive that intent and of the consumers and be able to serve a content that makes sense to them, right? So we looked at how the big tech, big media had been doing this for the last couple of decades, namely the big companies, right? The Googles and others. And we realized one basic distinction between a physical world versus the online world. In an online world, the algorithm of all of those big tech, big media companies is built towards this one-to-one experience, right? In other words, you have this very pure, if you will, funnel where you have just one person in front of their laptop or on their phone who is shopping. That's the technology and the algorithm that was built by the others has been optimized on knowing basically trying to understand who you are so that they can personalize based on your identity, the kind of information and content and ads that they believe would drive the biggest conversion, right? As a result of that, unfortunately, the old ways of doing things have gone too far, right? It became a creepy experience. They track all of our cookies, they know our location IDs on our phones, they hold the history, which is why we found that very uncomfortable. Now, fortunately, with GDPR in Europe and with a number of state privacy acts in the United States, the world is changing both on the legal side as well as by the just overall maturity of understanding and ethical acceptance of what's okay, what's not okay. So all of that created a pressure on those guys. But here's why I mentioned for the contrast, right? When we look at the physical world, in a physical store, inherently, the algorithm is not a one-to-one, right? Because it's not just only one person in front of a screen. In any aisle, in any end cap, in anywhere in a store, you'll inherently have many people at the same time. So your algorithm cannot really be built toward the one-to-one identity personalization and maximizing that conversion for one person. You are building an algorithm that is built for a segment or a group of people and finding the common denominator, because at any point in time, like I said, in an aisle, you have Joe, Jill, Mary, and Neil all at the same time in front of this product in stores. Well, if it's a one-to-many world, the need for identity just simply goes away, because you now are looking for different data signals to understand and infer what content might be more relevant to this group of people. So we, by default, have taken that as a core element of our technology and business model from the very start, and we integrated that into every facet of what we do. So we call it an identity blind model, which very simply said, if we don't need the personal data on consumers for business to make money out of it, and our technology doesn't need it to create an algorithm out of it, then you inherently are private as a technology platform. We adopted what so-called privacy by design framework, which you may or may not have heard of, but it's recently been gaining speed as the worldwide accepted standard, golden kind of platinum standard for privacy. Privacy by design has recently been also being set up as an ISO standard. So I'm proud to say we're the first and the only retail media and actually a retail technology platform certified in privacy by design. And it's a vigorous framework that was a foundation for GDPR in Europe, for many of the other state acts, and hopefully soon federal privacy act in the United States. And that's a commitment we have made. But like I said, not just a commitment because we felt it's the right thing to do, but it's also because, as I explained in the detail, if your business model and your technology model simply is not about a one-to-one, but it's about a one-to-many experience, that leads to a simple conclusion that you don't need an identity data. And by being identity blind, by design, as the word suggests, you are private.
And you've got some pretty big partnerships. In fact, they're huge. And I think just to bring to life everything that we're talking about today, I'm not sure how much you can share, but are you able to elaborate on some of those partnerships with industry giants from PepsiCo to Kraft Heinz? That will just help everyone listening understand how Cooler Screens provides value to these CPG brands.
Yeah, no, Neil, my business model from the beginning was to partner with the retail media, and in-store retail media is a big idea, right? A startup could never succeed on its own. So we needed to form a global collective, if you will, between big giants. We partner with the companies like Microsoft, Verizon, others, to NVIDIA's, to bring this unique technology, but able to bring that technology to the Fortune 100 companies like Kroger and Walgreens and others meant that we're going to create relationships and create this new marketing platform for the big giants, like you mentioned, like PepsiCo's and Kraft's of the world. Those relationships are very pragmatic, or characterized. They're built on a very basic premise that our platform has created an opportunity for these brands to drive incremental sales, right? As well as build their brands at the moment where they believe is very valuable in a physical store at the point of that decision making. We have been partners with, you named those two companies. We have over 150 participating brands on the platform. We're very proud of them, but we're also recognizing that it's not just a relationship. It's a very pragmatic relationship built on the premise that we have to drive incremental sales to those brands and to those companies. And we have to give them a platform that allows them to be able to deliver their brand equity messaging and their brand building strategies in a way that fulfills their vision. A couple of examples where we delivered amazing results. The Heinz condiment campaign ran across Cooler Screens network during the summer grilling season and featured really cool visual artwork, comparable almost to a museum experience. Imagine the ketchups and the mustard being glorified, if you will, right? Yeah. Well, the results were just significant, both in driving incremental sales. I cannot put out the numbers out there out of confidentiality for our customers, but the data scientists worked on defining test and control stores, and they have been continuously showing the incremental sales, being able to have the brand awareness metrics measured at the same time. So, another example that comes to mind, the Velveeta campaign, we featured multiple creatives tailored to relevant, timely cultural moments like the Olympics, the March Madness, and the Oscars. And again, just impressive results on being able to drive the incremental sales list. The reason why we're able to drive the incremental sales list, I want to double click on that, Neil, is it comes down to our unique understanding of the data signals that we collect about the shopper behavior in a physical store, and correlating those data signals with the information we know about the store, about the product, all of the information that the retailer is sharing with us. These, at any point in time, with no exaggeration, we might have tens of thousands of data models running on our views in those stores, calculating and predicting that incremental opportunity where we see that perhaps between 3 and 5 p.m. in this particular region, in the 400 whatever stores, the particular brand might be underselling by 12%. And there is an opportunity to lift that with a statistically significant probability behind it. When we have this kind of a precision marketing opportunity identified, in the past, when you had all the smart retail data consultants digging through your data and come to that conclusion, the problem was in an analog world, they couldn't activate anything, right? And quickly enough, they would have to order the printing of the paper signage, have merchandisers get out to the stores and have it placed. So in average, the latency of any data insight turn into an execution or activation in a store in the physical world would be 6 to 9 months at best. But when you have these advertising platform like a Google, but tailor-built for an in-store physical environment, as I described earlier, you're able to activate on these insights within minutes or seconds, right? And you can seize on these opportunities that now drive the incremental sales. But not only that, the feedback loop coming from the stores or based on shoppers either reacting and picking up more product, growing the baskets or not, that feedback loop, the data models, essentially turning the data models into what people, again, the buzzwords, into machine learning, ML models. And these reinforcement machine models are continuously optimizing the experience and the content so that it constantly is working towards one, giving the customers the content that they find relevant, and then being able to drive that basket increase through the content that actually resonates and drives an action with the shopper. So,
and of course, we are at that time of the year right now when our news feeds are beginning to fill with so many different futurists making predictions about next year and beyond on what tech trends are going to dominate the future. And many predictions are already indicating that retail media advertising could actually surpass TV ad revenue in the very near future. So with that in mind, how do you envision Cooler Screens adapting and scaling to maintain a competitive edge in this business?
Yeah, first of all, I'll give you a private invite. March 6th next year, I would love you to join us at we host an annual innovation summit with which select group of people that are really into the retail media business, and they understand, and they not just drive the predictions, if you will, but they actually make the retail media happen. So I'll send you more invite on this. So the reason why I mentioned that, because we believe the future of retail media is, first of all, it's an outperforming media platform compared to the TV or social media and others, simply because what I described earlier, when you have such unique understanding of the store product and the consumer behavior, your algorithm is just simply going to be a whole lot better than figuring out how many clicks and taps or how many people tuned in to watch a show, right? And then hoping that just because you clicked on tapped or you watched the show and you saw an ad, you went into a store and you got something, right? Which is the old model. Retail media is the most performant media platform, in my opinion, which is where I'm essentially building my business on, and I'm banking my personal future on. And then number two, I believe the richness of those data signals is going to drive an increased adoption, and a real use case for AI to be adopted. So we call it the retail AI in the retail is artificial intelligence and the software are going to become a dominant force behind the platform of retail media going forward. And that innovation summit next year will be held in Mountain View, sponsored by Microsoft and NVIDIA and Cooler Screens. We're inviting, like I said, a select group of brands, agencies, retailers, and thought leaders in the trade to talk about that, right? And start not just predicting, but actually defining the steps and separating, if you will, the hype from the pragmatic execution of how to extract value from that new advancements in technology.
Sounds incredibly cool, and I'd love to take you up on that opportunity and speak to you in person at the event, and also some of the partners, some of the retailers, and really bring to life everything that we're talking about today. And of course, another huge topic in the industry is sustainability. So given your involvement in various organizations, what role do you see for Cooler Screens in promoting sustainability and social responsibility in retail? Because again, huge topic right now.
Well, it's a great topic, and I think you have to look at the sustainability, first of all, right, through the I guess, the lens of saying there is a lot of wasted media happening, right? To your point earlier, we serve a lot of impressions on TV, on social media, essentially everywhere, right? Our world as humans is cluttered with refugees left and right. And we don't know really how many of those impressions are driving results. So this is where we, along with our partners like Kroger, we share the vision that when you have the ability to have a precise identification of those marketing opportunities where your marketing, messaging, your impressions will drive a conversion, you're saving on a lot of valuable energy, you're saving on a lot of valuable carbon footprint that you can avoid on wasting if you're able to drive the sales with the least amount of effort, right, if you will. And so that's I think, an emerging area of starting to challenge the advertising industry about what they do and how to actually reduce and eliminate a lot of that waste. I saw only last week at the Advertising Week, our partners of Kroger, they announced very similar message in a partnership with some other companies called Scope 3, talking about the sustainability and the ability to drive marketing that is less wasteful than otherwise. On the social responsibility side, I think this is a world where it's a highly politicized world for many different reasons. We have become farther and farther apart on both sides of the aisle, right? And I think advertising is a finicky thing because you want to appeal to all customers, not just to the half, although that half is your customer. But that being said, there are clear guidelines about what's not okay and what's brand appropriate. And this is where, again, at least in my personal view, I find that advertising in a physical store, every time we speak to consumers and shoppers through our numerous surveys, which we do, by the way, thousands of on a monthly basis, we learn that they find the media in physical stores to be the most acceptable environment for them, right? Because that's what they are there for. They're there to look for products. They're there to look for things that they need to buy. And information that's being presented to them in stores that helps them find the products doesn't appear to be in any ways associated with it doesn't appear to be associated with any kind of a point of view, right? It's like you're gluten-free. You want to know what is the cauliflower crust pizza. You're looking for low sugar and so on. So I would say looking for brand safe environments where the brands know that the shoppers are welcoming their messaging and their marketing is just a big important element of that consideration.
As a leader in this industry, I'm curious because I think every single person listening to this podcast today will find themselves in a state of almost continuous learning, and it can be incredibly daunting and overwhelming trying to keep up to speed with the pace of technological change. So I've got to ask, as someone right in the heart of this space that is leading the way, where or how do you self-educate to keep up to speed with things?
I'm always a student of my industry and of my customers and of my business, Neil. We're humble entrepreneurs who learned that there is no one formula to success, but there are foundational values. And one of them is humility to always learn from your customers and be able to be pragmatic and agile in how you approach and solve those problems. So I know it's a generic answer, but there is no one. First of all, anything we do, it's not rocket science at the end of the day, right? I mean, people go to stores, they buy things, they want to know about those things, and in-store communication, in-store marketing is nothing new. People have been exposed to marketing since the ancient ages. So the technology is evolving, giving us better tools, more sophisticated tools. It gives us ability to create automation. It gives us ability to create sophistication, but ultimately it's all towards one thing. If we give customers what they want, they will be buying. They will be buying, they will be feeling rewarded, they will be grateful for that experience. And as long as we keep that, what again, at the beginning of this podcast, I said human outcomes. If we keep those human outcomes in mind, which is we want customers to feel that their experiences are convenient, they are efficient, they're given the information they need so that they can make a confident decision about their purchase, so that they don't feel they're blindly trusting the marketing, but there is a feeling of trust that brands have established with them, so that whatever brands tell them, that they know that they can trust the message behind it is being backed up with the quality and with the delivery of that promise. So I think those are the foundations. All of the latest and greatest in tech is just all about optimization and sophistication, automation, right? But I would say if we're guided by the value of CX, consumer experience, everything else becomes just an evolution of new tools and tricks. As long as we use those tools responsibly and ethically, I think we're going to be all moving in the right direction.
And for anyone listening wants to dig a little bit deeper into anything we talked about today, find out more information, check out a few videos, connect with your team, where's the best starting point for all things Cooler Screens?
coolerscreens.com, and you can find us in a number of shops with many retail partners in the United States if you want to experience the technology in the first place. Thank you, Neil. Thanks for having me here today, and I look forward to, I will send you information about the Innovation Summit for March 6th. So I'd love to have you as one of our guests.
Well, I always say at the end of every episode that technology works best when it brings people together. And before you came on again today, I was doing a bit of research on what you've been up to and quickly reading that you connect to over 90 million shoppers each month. And that number is expected to more than double next year. So I'm already getting excited about seeing this live in person and having a chat with you in person next year. And I think it's also worth highlighting that, yes, retailers get more from this than just a fleshy screen. They tap into new ad money and get access to powerful shopping data. And with AI sensors, stores can also see if a product is out of stock almost immediately, and that gets sent to the store's information systems. And for shoppers, I think the big takeaway there is it makes physical shopping feel a little bit more like that online experience that we're all used to. And I love how those worlds of online and offline are converging. Absolute pleasure as always, but thank you for sharing your story today.
No, thank you. Thank you, Nick. Thanks for having me.
Wow. It's always a pleasure to have Arsen on the podcast, and he truly is pioneering the next phase of retail technology. And we did cover a lot of ground today, from understanding how data analytics and AI are reshaping that retail landscape to discussing Cooler Screens' approach to consumer privacy, a huge talking point right now. And we also got a sneak peek into some of the exciting developments in the pipeline, including that upcoming Innovation Summit featuring industry leaders such as Microsoft and NVIDIA. So I'm quite excited about that. And hopefully I'll be able to speak to a lot of people at that event and further bring this topic to life. But as we wrap up this episode, let's reflect on the larger picture. Retail technology is at a crossroads. The intersection of data analytics, consumer experience, and ethical considerations will ultimately dictate its future trajectory. But one thing is clear, with thought leaders like Arsen steering the ship, I think the retail sector is undoubtedly on for a transformative journey. So a big thank you to Arsen again for joining me here on Tech Talks Daily. It's been an incredible catch-up, and I hope everyone listening has gained some invaluable insights into what the future might hold for retail technology. But that's it for today. I'll be back again tomorrow with another guest, but it's just a huge thank you for listening today, and until next time, don't be a stranger.